I wanted to talk to you guys about my new podcast episode for today. It is Tuesday, and that means a new podcast episode. So, welcome. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining, and thank you for checking out the replay. My name is Doree Allen, and I am an entrepreneur, life coach, speaker. I call myself an entrepreneur because I do so many things, but right now the focus is not on me. I am the host of Kicking It with Doree, which is a podcast that airs every Tuesday and is available on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and on my website, which is DoreeAllen.com. And so today what I wanted to talk about is, what do you do when you are involved in what my friend calls an altercation? This is her book, Altercation. It's looking backwards to me. Hopefully it's not backwards to you. You could see the word altar. It's spelled like being left at the altar. And that's practically what happened to her. She talks about in this book how she was able to kind of move forward, what happened to her when she tried to move forward and move on from a broken engagement. Hi, Tanya. Hi, Tawana, and everyone that's joining. Thank you. So the book again is called Altercation, and the name of the author is Ericka McCracken, and her handle and Twitter name and all of that good stuff is in the title of this, so that you can find her and follow her. Hi, Felicia. Thank you for joining. So if you've ever been left at the altar or left hanging or been left behind, or betrayed by anyone that's really close to you, you'll be able to identify at least a little bit with Ericka's story of altercation. Thank you for the hearts. She is the author. Ericka is she's an author, she's a producer, and she is a forgiveness facilitator now. Hey, how are you guys? And she talked with me on the show today about how she overcame that hurt of the betrayal. And also not only just from the broken engagement, but also being abandoned by her dad when she was a youth, because I believe she lived with him for a number of years till she was about maybe 11 or 12 before he left the family. And then what happened when she actually got back with him as an adult, and how she was able to, deal with him and how she confronted him and what happened with that. I don't want to give too much away. This was actually my longest show. Normally my podcasts range from about 35 to 45 minutes, which I think is probably a pretty decent time for if you're commuting to work or if you're exercising or whatever. It's probably just the right amount of time. This one went about 52, 53 minutes, but it's a really, really good story. She was in the studio with me and we had a great time. So you're going to have awesome quality, awesome story, really. And you should still get the book. So here are a few things that we talked about in the interview, just so you know some of our talking points. She talked about whether or not she gave the ring back, because that's a big thing with people. They can go back and forth a lot about, okay, well, if, they break off the wedding, if the wedding is off, then I get to keep the ring. I'm the woman and it's my ring and blah, blah, blah. And this was a promise and I'm keeping it. But, there might be some other views on that. So I don't know what your views are about whether or not you should keep the ring if the man breaks off the engagement. But in this particular show, you'll hear about what she did, because indeed her fiance was the one that broke it off with her. We also talk about the difference between being alone and being lonely. And to me, that's really obvious, but I think a lot of people mix up the two. And so we give examples about that, because the first thing that you really feel, besides the hurt and the betrayal when someone leaves you, is, okay, now I'm alone. But does that necessarily mean you're lonely? There's a difference in the definition of those two things. And so we talk about, what do you do when you break up with somebody? Do you just jump into a new relationship? Do you just be like, okay, well, you know what? They didn't want me or I didn't want them. I'm going to move on and just go right to the next thing. Is that the wise thing to do? A lot of people just love, and they like going from one person to the next, and they don't take the time to heal. They don't take the time to learn what it is that happened in that relationship that made it go to the left. Now, it's possible, you could say, well, the only thing that really is the problem is the other person, and I have no problems, and it wasn't me at all. Maybe there might be a small percentage of y'all that's true. But for the most part, there's two people in the relationship, and so there's always something to be learned before you go into the next relationship. So we talked a little bit about that. We also talked about the superwoman syndrome. You know, any woman that you hear that word, you know what I'm talking about. You wear yours today, no ties, just a piece of jewelry, okay? A lot of us operate as super women. I think it really depends on your personality. If you're a real go-getter, you might be more apt to be superwoman. It might be the way you were raised, the expectations that were given to you, or the expectations that you give to yourself. And so there's a lot of different reasons why we have the superwoman syndrome. But what I'm specifically thinking about, and what we're talking about there in the show, is when you are, crying in the bathroom because you're just so distressed about whatever. But then you come out, you clean yourself off, and you don't talk to anybody, and you just keep it moving. Face is redone, hair is straight, nobody knows, and you don't think anybody cares. You don't care to share it. And so those are some of the points that we talked about. Oh yeah, one more thing really important, something that Ericka calls thrive, not survive. There's a difference. Sometimes traumatic things happen in our lives and we might be called a survivor, like a cancer survivor or an incest survivor or whatever the case, _survivor. And so she talks about thriving instead of just surviving. And I think that's a really key component. So I just invite you, this was a quick scope, just wanted to give you a little quick synopsis about what we talked about in the show today. If you haven't already checked it out, hopefully you've subscribed to Kicking It with Doree, and the podcast is available to subscribe from either my website, DoreeAllen.com, or iTunes if you're an Apple person, or if you're not an Apple person, you can use the Stitcher Radio app, and that is available on Android. So check it out, DoreeAllen.com. My guest about ALTAration is Ericka McCracken. I thank you for watching this video and for checking me out and for listening to the show. Bye.